Yeah, okay, it's working.
Alrighty. Okay. So let's see. So basically I have like more constructs of the health belief model that we read about. So let me see what the questions are. Okay, summarize how the health belief model works. And then we're just going to review like the PowerPoint. I already have that pulled up so I can share my screen when we're on that topic.
Okay. And if you want to, I could also share my screen and put the instructions so that we can go in order and not to miss anything, so that we don't miss something. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I think the first question, it just says summarize how the health belief model works, and that's just kind of reiterating like what we talked about like last week. It's basically how we're going to figure out people's intentions on the behaviors that they're doing. It can also help us with interventions on how to help people to stop the behavior if they would like to.
Yeah. So something that I think that many constructs are the same as last week, to be honest.
Yeah.
The main difference that I saw or understood from the theorists from the last week to this week is that what people believe it's gonna make them to change their behavior or not to change it. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe for me it is easier if we can see, for example, the constructs there are four main constructs: the perceived, let me see, the perceived susceptibility, perceived severity, perceived benefits of an action, and perceived barriers to taking that action. So susceptibility, I don't know how to pronounce that in English.
Susceptibility.
Susceptibility.
Yeah.
For me, what I understood is that the perceived susceptibility
it's okay.
is how people think or they feel that this disease is going to affect them. For example, I don't know if you want already to discuss the tattoo thing that we have to discuss.
We can go ahead and do that.
Because then for what I read, those teenagers don't think that they are susceptible to get any disease if they get a tattoo.
Yeah,
so
like
because they don't think, exactly. So because they don't think they're on risk or at risk, then they won't change the behavior. So that would be susceptibility. Perceived severity is what would happen to them if they have the disease and they don't treat the disease.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll say, oh yeah, okay, maybe I could get, maybe they are aware that they could get AIDS, but they don't know, or they feel that nothing's gonna happen to them. I don't know.
Yeah, or they understand that there is a chance of infection, but they're willing to risk it because they don't think an infection's that bad. Like, I know, at least for me, like I have like piercings up here.
Ah, okay.
And sometimes when I lay on them, they'll hurt and get infected. Like, even though I had them for almost a year now, but I still will just clean them out and just let the infection take its course. So I think, like, at least for me, for getting piercings, the perceived severity isn't high, because I can deal with a little ear pain and infection because I think it looks cute. But
it looks cute.
Yeah. I guess you can continue with like the benefits and the barriers, or I can do those too if you want.
Do you want me to share the screen? Because we also have to read this PowerPoint.
Yeah, you can go ahead and share the screen, whatever you'd like. I'm just looking at the textbook on one side.
Okay. So can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. So yeah. And then the perceived benefits of an action would be if what you were saying about the piercing, if I don't get a piercing, then I won't get an infection. But if I clean the ear, then the infection can go away. So the severity is not that high. Yeah, that makes sense. And the perceived barriers to taking that action would be, well, they were talking about how they want to like look like to their peers and they don't care about their parents. Did you read about that too?
Yeah, so it was like if we were to get a tattoo, like how your peer group would think about it, or how your family might react if you catch an infection or a disease from that tattoo. That's how kind of I thought about it as the barriers. Or it could be like morals or personal beliefs that stop you from doing that behavior. Like, I know, like if someone was getting a tattoo and they were like, I know my skin is sensitive, so I shouldn't get a tattoo, that could be a perceived barrier because they know this kind of thing runs in their family. Like, for example, I'm making this kind of up in my head, but like let's say their mother had gotten a tattoo and it turned out really bad and they got a serious infection from that, or and so their parents would have a different moral belief than that, and like teach that to their child who now wants a tattoo. If that makes sense.
Exactly. I think so. Perceived barriers would be also, I mean, if I get an infection, am I able to go to a store and buy chlorhexidine, for example, to clean the infection, the ear, or the tattoo, or the tattoo was done? Or can I go to a pharmacy and buy? Do I have the money to go to a physician so that he or she can like prescribe me an antibiotic or something like that? So maybe if I'm not able to handle those costs, that would stop me to getting a tattoo. I don't know. I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
But if you have like all the resources to take care of a tattoo and even to take it away with laser, then maybe your perceived barriers are lower and you're gonna get a tattoo. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense what you're saying.
Okay. So do you wanna, there are other two components or constructs that are cues to action. And here I think it's when I want to be popular. I want to be with those that are popular. So I'm going to get a tattoo so that I can like seem cool and everyone's going to be around me.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of in how I was thinking about it. It's like you're in, like what motivates you to do this behavior. Like it kind of sums it up with the direct motivation to act. So like you said, it could be peer pressure, like I want to look cool for this friend group I'm in, so I'll get a tattoo all with them. Or it could be like a personal one, where it's like, oh, I think tattoos are cool, so I'm gonna get a tattoo, even though there's these risks. So.
Or right now, well, I have a teenager. She just turned 13. And she's kind of getting rebellious. Is that the word? Rebellious.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not wanting to get a tattoo, but she's like, wash your teeth. No, Mom, I'm gonna wash them when I brush your teeth. I'm gonna brush them when I want, not when you're telling me to do it. So yeah, maybe another cue another cue would be like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get a tattoo just to make my parents like mad. Like,
yeah, that could definitely be a thing, because I mean, I'm out of the teenage years technically, but I remember myself in high school and like I look back and cringe at some of the things I would do simply to just irritate or push my mom's buttons. So good luck with that one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, I'm already there. But I mean, yeah, okay. I'm gonna survive.
Yeah. And I mean, it made me and my mom's relationship stronger, so it's all good. And then,
interesting.
yeah, for self-efficacy, we've talked about this multiple times throughout the course. It's like your self-confidence to be able to do the thing and do it successfully. It's like, if I try hard enough, then I will be successful at this behavior or stopping the behavior.
Exactly. I am confident that I'm capable of changing this behavior, like eating healthier or exercising or stop smoking or something. Yeah. Or the contrary, I don't feel comfortable or capable of doing this. So yeah. And here are all the constructs. I think we already discussed all of them, right?
Yeah, we just
it says read the final PowerPoint presentation. Should we read it all?
I mean, I think we can skip that second slide since we already just discussed like our own definitions of it.
Okay. So I can read one and then you can read one if you want to. I don't know.
Yeah, I can.
So, okay.
Okay, yeah, I can start. So the health belief model, if I can speak, it's based on Kay Lewin's decision-making model, which was goal-oriented and directed. Let me actually, I'm gonna put you on full screen, that way I can read. Balance how bad you want the goal and subjective probability, the likelihood of achieving the goal based on some action. Perception is the basis of all behavior. That is, people must believe that they are susceptible to a condition or they will not act. So, yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward. So.
Okay, the next one, health belief model. The health belief model is known as a value expectancy model. The assumption that people will engage in healthy behavior if, one, they value the outcome, being healthy related to the behavior, or two, if they think that the behavior is likely to result in that outcome. Pretty much it's, if I think that changing this behavior is going to make me healthier and I want it, then I'm going to change my behavior. Pretty much, right?
Yeah. It's like the risk versus the reward kind of thing. Okay, so the health belief model in action. Suppose you're concerned about a group of serious urban blues musicians who were heavy smokers and you wanted to encourage them to quit smoking. You set out to conduct a health promotion campaign using the HBM and begin developing information materials straight from the 6 constructs. So this is kind of like a case study.
So the first one would be you develop some brochures and internet materials that contain very clear information about the risks and the severity of lung, throat, and other cancers, as well as emphysema caused by smoking. You even throw in a few graphic pictures. Okay, so you've hit on the first 2 constructs, which would be to increase the perceived
susceptibility.
Thank you.
Severity, perceived severity. Because if you're showing them super graphic pictures and you're like, your lungs will turn black, then they're like, oh, so this isn't a good thing.
Exactly.
Okay. The HBM in action. You put together some flyers, posters, web ads, and radio spots advertising a number of quit smoking programs and products that are relatively inexpensive or covered by insurance, and promise that clients will be smoke-free in a month. You're trying to show the cost of quitting is low. Then in the same flyers, posters, and ads, you include testimonials from people who've quit and who are ever so happy about their new healthy state of being. You include those because you're trying to show the benefits are great. 4 constructs down, 2 to go. So that could be the perceived benefits or barriers, because if they're saying this is easy, you can do this, then that will kind of knock down the barriers. And then if you have the testimonials, then that will be the benefits.
Exactly. I agree with you. So number 3 would be, now you need a cue to action. Cue, thank you. Now you need a cue to action. What will you use? Luckily, You find out about a famous musician who recently died of cancer because of smoking. You somehow are able to get some quotes for his wife saying, if only he had quit, and so on. You put up the information in blues clubs and music stores, figuring it out to inspire some action. Now you just have one construct to go. So this would be the cues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So it'll kind of get like an emotional response from like the blues players. So they can say, oh, well, maybe I should quit. That's my motivation. I don't want to die early, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I like that they use a musician that recently died from cancer, because they can like feel related. I would say they could feel related.
Mm-hmm.
And they would think, oh, this happens to musicians. Yeah.
Okay. For self-efficacy, you put together a brief steps to quitting booklet entitled 1, 2, 3, Quit, congratulating yourself on the music-related title. Then you send out some training quit coaches to provide a free starter demonstration at local YMCAs and the meeting of the local musicians union.
Mm-hmm.
So this can inspire, yes, you can do it, you're strong.
Exactly, to make self-efficacy higher. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So got all of the constructs covered, right? Do you think it will work? After all, you took the IHBM by the book and plugged it right into your program components. Suppose you follow out 3 months later and find out that 1, no one of the musicians has quit or even tried. 2, most of the pamphlets, flyers, and other information have been tossed or not used. Tossed? I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's tossed, like tossed away.
Okay, tossed. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And barely a handful of people came to the free quitting demonstrations. What in tarnation happened? I don't know what tarnation is.
It's like basically like, what the heck happened?
Okay, I know that one.
Yeah. That's like a really like old little Westerny kind of word.
Okay. Okay. Should we answer or should we just keep reading?
I think we should like come up with like a theory of what might have happened. So I feel like a lot of people won't quit their habits until they see it affect them directly. Like if they've been smoking for years and they haven't found any like deficits or any problems, then why would they stop now? So it might be like sad but true, but it usually they won't quit unless it's affecting them personally or affecting their family. And so I feel like it's not personal enough to just be like, hey, this blues player died, and then they could just be like, well, I haven't seen anything, I'm not gonna die. Even though they have all this information in front of them, they could just be in denial and just be ignoring it, which is sad, but I think sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I would say that if no one related to you has this disease, it's gonna be hard for you to get like involved. I don't know if I'm saying it like correctly, but for example, right now with what's happening in Ukraine, you cannot relate because you haven't been there. Yeah. So you can say, "Oh, poor people," but you don't know for sure what's going on, and you don't feel that the fear they are experiencing. I don't know if I am I explaining my point of view?
No, you're explaining it great. Like I totally understand what you're saying. Like if you can't relate to it on a personal level, like for example in Ukraine, like I've never been through war times or had bombs exploding like in my town or anything like that. So I feel like I can't relate. I can be scared for them because I can put myself kind of in that situation, but I will never really know. So I think for like this instance, if say you like all of these musicians were all buddies and they were all smoking, and then suddenly one of the buddies gets a terminal cancer thing, like diagnosis, then I think that would help them realize how serious it is, and maybe quit, even if they hadn't tried before, at least try.
Exactly. That's what I was. Yeah, you understand me completely, and thank you so much for saying it, because
yeah, no, and it's Friday. I understand the brain's a little jumbled. Wait for the weekend.
Okay, yeah, so pretty much maybe I would say, or I would, yeah, I would try to get people involved with people that are suffering that at a time, because then they could relate. They could see like the suffer, the pain, how they are like combating cancer, and maybe that would make them at least try to quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Who's next? Am I supposed to read or you? I don't remember.
It was me, because you did the tarnation.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
The HBM in action. You just succumbed to the easy program structure illusion. The key to avoiding the easy program structure illusion is to first do some research and then target your program and the theory to the people you are trying to help. Second, don't think of the theory as the complete story. It is a tool, a guideline, and a framework to help you develop an effective program. So basically, we have the model, just expand on it, make it more detailed.
Maybe more personally, more target oriented, I would say. Yeah. Target population oriented. Okay.
Like targeted towards your audience.
Exactly. The HBM in action. Let's redo this using the same participants. What would you do different? Focus group interviews musicians, cost benefit, no insurance, priority it's getting a gig. I don't know what a gig is.
A gig is like where they'll play music. So like going to like a concert.
Oh, okay.
Like getting a job.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No time to take off to attend a class for a month and social benefits. Okay. So looking at these, I would say that maybe no one attended the YMCA classes because they didn't have the time. And the only way to get to know all that information is by having a focus group. Yeah. Or maybe an interview, which would take longer, or a survey. Because yeah, we can have the good intention to give those classes, but if they're very busy, they won't be able to attend. So we have to see, like, to diminish the barriers so that they can attend, or they can, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I honestly think like an interview wouldn't be bad, or like a survey. I think a focus group, maybe not a lot of them would show up if they were invited, because their priority is just playing music, hanging out, having a social life. At least that's what I interpret musicians to do. So like if you got like a whole band and kind of interviewed them one by one to kind of see what their take on it is, because once you kind of break up the group and the peer pressure and like that mob mentality, and then maybe you would have like the bassist who actually doesn't like smoking and he just does it because he's around his friends. And so that would give more information onto the individual, and that's how we could do a better like intervention and plan and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds super good, because if they are just smoking because of a social thing, then maybe we could like target that topic and try to make them understand that they don't need to smoke to be social. Yeah.
It's like their like self-confidence and stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay. The focus on your perceived severity themes shift from the disease consequences of smoking to the potential cost of losing future gigs and careers. Maybe you have a tagline that says, got throat cancer, can't get gigs. Got lung cancer, can't get gigs. Or Charles is a blues man. He smoked 3 packs a day. Now his only audience is a couple of nurses.
Ouch.
So that does get them personally.
Exactly. So we were in the correct path, but I didn't know how to do it. Now I have an idea.
Yeah. No, I was the same way. I was like, I know it has to be personal to them, but this makes total sense. If you kind of, it's almost like an insult, like a jab at them, because they're like, well, you want to be successful. Well, look at this guy. He's only performing for a couple of nurses. He can't even sing. So
Yeah.
I think that's
wow. This one blow out my mind. Like if you smoke, you get cancer, lung cancer, and then you cannot even like have the air to play the trumpet or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. If you're sick, then you're not capable of doing what you like and what you do for a living. So stop smoking.
I think with that, it would also, I think this would be more scarier than like the thought of like dying. Because there's like, you lose your passion in life. And I think musicians are very passionate and they want to do everything they can, you know? So I think this is good. It kind of blew my mind as well.
Yeah, I like this one very much. Okay. Am I next?
Yes, you are.
Okay. To demonstrate that the costs of quitting are relatively low, this time you focus on quit smoking modalities that the blues musician could really use, like the nicotine replacement patch, which is easily available at local grocery stores and pharmacies and doesn't take critical time away from performing.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, because yeah, if you go to a place for an hour 3 times per week, they won't be able to play for that period of time and then won't get paid. But if instead you use only a nicotine patch, you can still play. So that's more convenient for them, and this would make them feel that they have a higher self-efficacy to quit smoking. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like probably the gas station they went to every morning to get a cigarette would have those nicotine patches, so it would just be easier for them and convenient. Yeah,
they
I
don't
totally
have
agree.
to change. Yeah, for what you said right now, they don't have to change any pattern because they're going to the same gas station every day. But instead of just buying the cigarette, they can buy the patch the nicotine patch. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. An HBM successful program. Mammography screening intervention. In Maryland, outreach initiatives have been unsuccessful engaging low-income African women in mammography screening. Using the HBM, a culturally targeting intervention was implemented to promote a no-cost mammography screening program. Data were collected from women 40 years or older on their history of mammography use and their knowledge and beliefs about breast cancer. A 50% screening rate was achieved among 119 eligible participants. Significant predictors of screening behaviors were perceived barriers, lack of insurance, and limited knowledge. So I think that deals with more like the education side. If we can educate like the use of mammographies and like the potential for women in that age group to have breast cancer, then we can kind of, I don't know if we would up the like perceived susceptibility because they're at that right age group, and we could kind of get it in their mind like, oh, I could actually get breast cancer. I need to do this for myself. And then we could help their perceived barriers by doing like screening things where I know they used to do like a truck that would drive around and they would just give free mammography screenings. I don't know if they would do that anymore or if it was like during breast cancer month or something. But I know I've seen one of the trucks, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So that could help with their barriers because they're like, I don't like the doctor, I don't want to go to the doctor and get this done. So if we have those kind of things set up, then even women with maybe no insurance could get educated on it and at least get tested, so they can at least know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that maybe some women don't know that they are free. And because it says here screening. Oh, well, no, doesn't matter. So I was thinking about something else. So maybe they don't go to the doctor or to the physician to get a screening because they think, I don't have an insurance, I don't have the money, and so they don't go because of that. But then if they are told that the mammography is going to be for free, and that they are a part of a race that are at more risk, because African American women are at more risk than white women. So they could say, okay, so my barriers are lower because now I don't need the money to go to have a mammography done.
Yeah.
And as you said, the trucks is a very good idea. The trucks are a very good idea because they don't have, sometimes they don't go because they don't have like the transportation, or they do not have someone that can take care of the children while they go to the doctor. So the truck comes like offering, we can do the mammography here. You just go out of your house and get it done. So yeah, that's a super good idea.
Yeah, it would definitely help a lot of them to break down those barriers of, oh, I don't need this, I don't know what this is, kind of thing.
Okay. Weaknesses or critiques. The HBM primarily focuses on individual decisions, and does not address social and environmental factors necessarily. Calculations will vary based on the kinds of information and interpretations being made. The HBM assumes that everyone has equal access to and an equivalent level of information from which to make a rational calculation. Does not account for disparities in knowledge. Age factor, too young or too old, do not care. I don't know. do not care.
Yeah.
And recognizing barriers. Yeah, I mean, if you are 13 years old, you're not thinking about getting breast cancer, so you don't care. And if you're 90, then you say, okay, I have to die for something, so so that makes a lot of sense. That age is very important for the susceptibility, the perceived susceptibility. And yeah, disparities is an issue. So I think that's the reason why we have to target the target population, like to aim a specific target population so that we can talk about all the environmental and social factors that also could become a cue or could become barriers as well.
Yeah, and I think it's great to know. That's why it's important to know who your audience is and who the target audience is. That way you can know if it's like an 8-year-old, you're going to be teaching an 8-year-old about like eating healthy differently than you would say a 20-year-old or a 50-year-old. And so it's very important because like a lot of factors can change based off of so many things. Like if it was like a poorer population or a poor town, then you would teach them differently than you would teach someone who lives in like an inner city New York. And so all of these factors kind of come together to let us know what will work for our target audience and what will help them the most. If we can, whether it's education and intervention or like a focus group, like those kind of choices we need to make after we like know the target audience through and through.
Exactly, because as you said, if we're teaching people that don't have any knowledge, we cannot use like technical words. We should have to find those words that they usually use so that they can understand what we're saying. But if we're talking to maybe, I don't know, a group of nurses, then we can like talk differently to them because they already know, they have like this technical knowledge that would let them understand even more.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Oh, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, let me see. I think we already talked about the tattoos a bunch.
Here it is. Oh, we have to read this quote.
Okay, I can do that since you read the last slide.
Okay.
So peer and parental influences compete and often conflict. As youth approach early adulthood, they decide upon ways they wish to present themselves to others and count the cost of doing so by gauging the reactions they get. Attendants to this process are psychosocial risks and rewards. For example, the choices between acceptance by peers and rejection by parents or other authority figures factor into the decision-making process for behavior in general. We imagine this to be more consequential when individuals contemplate getting something as permanent as a tattoo. So I think that's kind of like what we talked about earlier. When, like, for example, your 13-year-old daughter, she's like testing the boundaries when she's like, I'll brush my teeth whenever I want. Like, that's her kind of gauging. Like, she feels older and she's like, maybe I can get away with more things because now I'm 13 and maybe I'll like get to go and have some freedoms with my friends. And I think it's up to like also the parenting style of like the parent of how they want to react to those things. Like I know a lot of parents are kind of nonchalant and then the kid rebels more to get like more attention, or that it can go like the opposite extreme where they're super strict and they're like, you brush your teeth when I say, because I say so. And it just depends on kind of how you grow up and like your personal experiences as a parent, that I think would affect that. Yeah, so I think teenagers are just difficult in general because they're figuring themselves out. I mean, I know I was, and they kind of, especially teenage girls, because they have all the hormones, like getting periods and stuff. I was terrible. So
well, that happened to me a long time ago, but I'm like kind of remembering everything with my daughter.
Yeah, it's like reliving it almost. But
yeah. So 2 things called my attention from this quote, and the main thing was it is kind of what it's more important to you, like to get along with your peers or to get along with your parents, or who do you fear the most, your peers and the peer pressure that they're gonna like have on you, or do you fear, I would say fear in like your parents?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to get along with your peers, or do you want to get along with your parents? So it depends on your values, and as you said, the relationships that already exist that have already existed. Maybe this is a hypothesis. Maybe if my daughter feels that she already has me like for sure, like I'm always there for her, she won't care about doing things to get along with their peers because she knows that no matter what, I'm gonna be there for her. So that would influence her actions and would like get a tattoo. Hopefully not. This is just and the second thing was that the more permanent a decision is, the more you think about it. That's very important for me because, I mean, should I brush my teeth? My peers say no because it takes away time that you could use to get like to be on the internet with them or something like that. But my mom says that I should brush my teeth every night. I mean, at least 3 times per day. But that's gonna take time. So but I mean, brushing your teeth one day or stop brushing your teeth one day won't kill you.
Yeah.
But maybe beginning to have sexual relationships, that's more important, something that's going to be more permanent, and the consequences are more permanent, like getting pregnant or not. Maybe that's going to make you think about it like twice or even 10 times before taking an action. So it's interesting for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think as something as permanent as losing your virginity, it's definitely something that you, at least as teenagers and even like young adults at my age, you have to like pick and choose things very carefully, because you don't want to give something so special to just anyone. And that's kind of how I've always thought about it, is just like, I'm not gonna like just do these really intimate, really personal things with just Joe down the street. I have to do it with someone I'm actually in love with, or plan on marrying, or anything like that. I want it to be special, and I feel like that should be the connotation across the board. But sometimes if like a teenager has just the right peer pressure working against them, I mean, I think the average like age to lose your virginity is like 15, 16 now, which is crazy.
I think it's younger. Much younger. Yeah, I think 13, 14. I was reading those data somewhere, but I cannot remember. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of peer pressure in school already with middle school and high school, and so it gets a little more tedious when it's like things about like drugs or smoking or sex or anything that could affect you later in life. And so I think that's something that I definitely want to teach my kids, and I'm sure you have taught your kids as well, is just to think about your decisions, because some of them last, not just brushing your teeth, but like those big ones.
The consequences are going to be with you for your entire life. That's it.
Yeah. And I think the church is like a great way of like showing like morals and consequences and stuff. Like I love growing up in the church and going through like young women's and primary and stuff. So that's a good way to also teach your kids about stuff like that.
I agree. I totally agree. So I think we can go to the next, to the worksheet, health belief model instructions.
Yeah, I think we just can look over it together if we have like any other questions, because I honestly haven't looked at the worksheet yet. I usually do those on Saturdays.
Okay.
Like, I know it's probably not the best practice, but I do all my little assignments worth like 10, 20 points like throughout the week. And then on Saturdays, I just like bang out the big assignments.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It says that we should read it together, and if we have time, we could like begin to work on it, but it's super okay. So here it is. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. So follow the steps by applying the health belief model with adolescents at risk / likelihood of being tattooed, interested in tattoos, or obtaining or another tattoo. Type your answers directly into the worksheet.
So the first question would be the overview of the health belief model. And it says, give an overview of the model and a brief explanation of the constructs. So we already talked about it, the 8 constructs. Yeah, there are 8, right? 4 and then 2. I don't know. Well, but okay, we already discussed that.
Yeah.
I can keep reading, or you can go ahead, whatever you want.
Sorry, I was opening it up on my screen since your screen is just a little small.
Oh, I can make it bigger if you want to.
I mean, it's okay. I just have it double open. Let me see. Oh, actually, that's great. So, complete the table below. Which individual interventions are you developing to apply the constructs as a health educator from 8 different types? So we'd use the constructs from last week and this week, right? Or just this week?
I would say just this week, because we're talking about health belief model.
And not the reason belief model. Okay. Sorry, sometimes I'm like, they're so similar that I'm just like, oh, they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I always have to remember they're not.
Yeah.
So let's see. Describe/explain specifically what the intervention is going to do. Remember, as a health educator, what specifically are you going to do? Intervention to use the health belief model constructs. Be direct and describe specifically what you're going to do. Expect.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to read expected impact boxes. What do you expect to happen as a result of using that construct with the intervention on your target population? So
maybe just to get an example, not only the two things, but with the example of the blues musicians. The perceived susceptibility would be, the intervention would be to explain to them that if they did cancer, they won't be able to play music anymore. They will lose gigs. So that would be the intervention. The description is, and the expected impact would be to increase the perceived susceptibility, right? Yes. Is that the way that we have to like write it?
I think so, but it's kind of confusing for me because I was thinking more if, like when they were talking about if you get cancer, you can't do gigs. I think that would be more perceived severity, because susceptibility is like how you're going to get the cancer, and then what the cancer is going to do to you would be severity. So I think for susceptibility, it would be the thing that's like, oh, here's like research that shows that smoking can cause cancer. So if you keep smoking, you're going to get cancer. And then this is what the cancer is going to do for you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6. So what are the 8?
Let me see. Let me look. I don't know.
Maybe it's just only 6, right?
I would think it's just 6, because that's the only ones I'm finding in the textbook as well.
Yeah, and the it says we should complete the table, and the table has only 6.
Yeah, it could just be a typo.
Yeah, could be. Okay, should I read the third one?
Yeah. I think those are just the last 2 questions.
Okay. Limitations for target change. Your answer should be in bold format. What are the limitations with the model itself and you're using it with the specific health issue or target population?
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just going to say, like, when we were looking through the PowerPoint, the original plan where we like handed out flyers and stuff, that could be like some of the limitations, because they're not going to care about them because it doesn't affect them personally.
Exactly. Yeah. We could spend a lot of money and they would only toss those pamphlets or flyers away without even reading them. So yeah, those are the limitations.
Okay. Your thoughts on using this model for behavior change both with and without the health issue. Your answer should be in paragraph format. So I guess that's like kind of our thoughts on how the health behavior model can work. And for this specific scenario, how it would work, I guess, or would it work in our minds?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we already discussed everything. So I think it's going to be easy to write this paper, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any question?
No, I think this one's actually easier than last week. Last week was actually pretty long to do for me. It took me like an hour and a half or something like that.
Yeah, it was difficult for me. I wasn't sure that I was like putting the questions in the correct category, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it was just I think it could have been formatted better, because like there was some questions where I was like, is this a rhetorical question? Like, should I answer it? So I just ended up like writing a response to every little thing, because I was like, I want to get full points.
yeah, I get it.
Okay, I can go ahead and stop recording.